Welcome to the new world and to the future. I don't purport to have the answers as to what this future is going to look like, but I do know that the new world that we're moving into each and every day will be different. It will be different than today, and it will certainly be different than what many of us expected back in January when we started 2020. The world is full of possibilities, though. And every time we as a society and an economy are thrown something that shifts our mindset is an opportunity to learn something new, to create something new, and to move forward down different paths. Now that's my Silicon Valley attitude. Silicon Valley is a place, and it is a place that I have a home that I may eventually make it back to when we get past coronavirus. It is a place, though, that is made up of thousands, if not millions, in fact, it's about 6 million people, living together in an area really as small as Oslo to Drammen and out in new directions. But it's people that are collaborating together, that learn together, share, exchange ideas, and co-create. And that includes entrepreneurs that may be both working on a similar project to solve a similar problem, decide to come together. 1 + 1 = 3, and they build something bigger. It's professors that are also acting entrepreneurs and teach as they learn and continue that cycle. So in many ways, while it's a place, Silicon Valley is a mindset of exploring, embracing opportunities as they come, sharing, challenging, and collaborating to take things forward. Now, we have seen downturns in the past, back at the beginning of the 2000s. 2001 was a very challenging time with the dot boom and then the bust and 9/11. In 2008, 2009, the global recession very much hit Silicon Valley. But in both of those times, that sparked creativity. And it sparked people thinking differently and began to be the basis for a lot of the companies we look at today as the giants. The Googles, the Airbnbs, the Slacks of the world. And so we'll talk today about some of those success stories of how you can approach the future in collaboration with others, exploring and challenging yourselves to move forward. And today, we are blessed to have the level of technology, some of which that has come from Silicon Valley, some of which started here in Norway in Hamburg 20 and 25 years ago, that are allowing us to have meetings like this, even in times when people are working in new ways. So it's a question of how can we leverage the technology to help us as people move forward? And the future will give us more opportunities to do that. As we think about the time after coronavirus, it's an opportunity for each of us to be truly future ready. And future readiness means being willing to embrace change. Having that rocket ship attached to your back, ready to explode into an unknown future. Sure, we all have fears sometimes, but how can you look past that fear to see what could be possible? If we continue working at home over the next 1 to 5 months, what opportunities might that bring? We can enjoy the outdoors more. We can get to know our children in new ways. There can be possibilities. So I would encourage all of us as we look at this unknown future to think of it positively and to recognize that while some things may be difficult, there can be good advantages that come. And there are things that we can't control, but there are other things we can control. How we work together as a society, how we approach each day, and how we look at the future. People who are future ready recognize that as humans, we may not always want to have change happen to us, but when we choose to change, when we make a decision to do something different, to enjoy a different type of holiday, to work differently, when it's our decision, we're actually sometimes pretty comfortable with that. So for yourself and your team members in your companies, think about where are there opportunities to embrace and initiate change versus being changed. Now, granted, today the planet is giving us a great perfect storm of shifting mindsets through the coronavirus, through the economic impact, through the uncertainty that this is throwing at all of us. That can be looked at negatively, or it can be looked at as a perfect storm of adjusting how we go forward and what the future will look like. Even Darwin recognized that survivability and thriving comes to those who are willing and able to adapt easily. That means we all have choice. We have choice today in our daily lives. We also have choice as leaders in our companies in how, in the short term and the long term, we lead our organizations forward with future readiness. The reason I'm spending a lot of time in Norway right now is, as Jan mentioned, building a concept called EGA, or Executive Growth Alliance, bringing together leaders from different businesses that are facing challenges with transforming, with digitalization, how to be innovative, bringing them together in small peer groups to share experience, to support one another, and to exchange ideas. We've been doing this in Silicon Valley for a number of years, here in Norway for 2 years, now in the Benelux, in the UK, in South America, and starting to see some real patterns in how people grow and change and what really drives success in helping organizations change. Because as an organization, big or small, looks at the future, and the leadership team or the board decides we need to be more innovative, or we need to change business models, or we need to have a digital strategy. There are choices in how the leadership team and the organization can go about that. And an interesting point, over the last couple of years, as we've brought these peer leaders together in different areas, talking about and learning from each other around how do you change and adapt, we found that there's really 4 different approaches in how leaders choose to be innovative and transform. There are some that choose to go with the hope strategy. Now, that could be, I hope this will just simply go away, and I want to just kind of ride it out slowly and make it to my retirement and hope nothing upsets me. That usually is not terribly successful, especially in periods like we're having now. There's also the hope strategy of, I hope I can delegate this to somebody else. That can mean I'm going to hire a great chief digital officer, and he or she is going to take care of it. Or I hope that I can invest in a startup down the street, and that will be a great opportunity that we can learn from them and maybe buy them, and that will be our strategy. Sometimes that can work, but I've seen a lot of investments in building out digital teams, building out innovation hubs, where just simply delegating it to others while the rest of the business continues business as usual, hoping that it happens over there, often is a less than successful initiative. The other thing I see is outsourcing it. Let's hire McKinsey to come up with a great strategy. Or let's set up an outpost in Silicon Valley. We'll carry on just fine right here in Oslo. They'll do that innovation thing. That can certainly help in moving the company forward, but it's not really a way to truly transform, embracing the change and moving forward. Versus the fourth strategy, which is indeed to embrace. To recognize that the world has been changing over the last 5 to 10 years. New customer buying patterns, new global competition, new demands from the marketplace. And now with the perfect storm in which we're operating, we need to rethink how we do business. A strategy that consistently has a greater chance of succeeding in that complete rethink is for the leader to truly embrace. Recognize change is everywhere today. We can't hide. We can't delegate it. We can't outsource it. We've got to embrace it, recognize it, and look at ways that we as an entire organization, not just one department, entire organization, can adapt our mindset, our way of doing business, our way of interfacing with customers and partners, and ultimately become future ready throughout the entire organization. One example of that is one of my clients and colleagues in Silicon Valley by the name of Shantanu Naran, who is CEO of Adobe. And Shantanu is, I believe, a good example of a leader in that he came into the role of CEO following after the founders of the company in 2007, December of 2007, as a matter of fact. And at that point, the company was about 20 years old, had very consistent growth rates, profitable company, perpetual software. Many of you may have used Acrobat, Photoshop, Creative Suites for many years through that period. Very predictable business model. Every 18 to 24 months, new release of software. Everybody rushes out to buy the new features. Sales go up, stock goes up, life is good. Well, Shantanu came into the role in December 2007 in preparation for a big launch of Creative Suites 4, planned and rolled out in September of 2008. Something else happened in September of 2008. The market crash. In fact, the day of the launch of CS4 was the day Lehman Brothers, one of the large investment banks, collapsed. And the economy basically unraveled in a matter of days, weeks, and months. So people that may have been looking very forward to spending $2,000 to $3,000 US for fancy new software features were ultimately out of a job, cut budgets, everything stopped. So in 9 months, Shantanu went from on a perfect path of hope and we go forward to what do we do now as the stock price plummeted. And he followed 4 steps to move the company forward. First, embracing the change. Let's not just wait to see when the market comes back. We may not have that long. Let's go out and talk to our customers. Let's talk to people in the market and see how we could deliver solutions to them in new ways without them having to pay $3,000 for all of these new futures. And through that, recognized we could actually offer this as a service. We don't have to sell it. We can allow people to use it. Based on that, he set the direction, very clearly stating to the market, to the company, to everyone, in 5 years, we will no longer be a software company. We will be a services company. We'll be a digital marketing experience company. Now, a lot of people, including the board and shareholders, said, okay, right, 20 years as a software company, you're going to suddenly become something different. How do you think you're going to do that? And his answer was very clear. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I know we, as an organization, as a team, are going to figure out how to do it. And he empowered his leadership team and everyone in the company to explore, to try things. There wasn't a rule book at that time as to how a software company goes to subscription and as a service. It was go talk to customers, go talk to competitors, go talk to partners, propose things, try things, see what works. Collaborate with those in the market as you explore. And when 2, 3, 5 people find something that's working, do more of it. And when you feel confident, celebrate that and let everyone know. Future readiness is an attitude of embracing the change, exploring without knowing what's going to happen, without having the steps, without having a map. It's talking to a lot of people, trying something, sharing the failures, but very much sharing the successes, learning from the successes and building on those. The result was during those 5 years, over time, won back a lot of customers that are much more loyal to Adobe now than they've ever been, gained new customers in new markets they could never have touched in the past, had wonderful growth in employee satisfaction rates, and from a stock market viewpoint, clearly were very, very successful. As you can see here in the lower part of the chart, the stock that had been running at about $40 per share for years before Shantanu took over plummeted in 2008, 2009, and went to its lowest point of about $19 per share. It was about, as he predicted, 5 years before revenues started tending up and ultimately profits increased and exceeded all expectations. But in those 5 years, the stock price began going up and continued going up as we track here to about $285 per share at the end of 2016 and has continued growing up to a few weeks ago was about $350. Future readiness in Adobe's view, and also in my view, is not a destination. It's not something that you say, we're going to do this for 5 years and we're going to hit these targets and then we're going to just coast. You continue to innovate. You continue to iterate. Those first 5 years for Adobe were all around Creative Cloud. Then it was around Experience Cloud. Then it was around the Spark and around the other tools that went into that. It is a continual journey. And that journey is what really builds sustainable value in the long term. So future readiness is a mindset, it's a journey, and it's a process that large traditional companies, such as Adobe was 10 years ago, can go through a major transformation in a fairly short period of time with the criteria of embracing it from the top, collaborating, learning from doing, and celebrating wins, even in good and bad times. In times like this, where possibilities may seem limited to some people who may be outplaced from positions, markets, and businesses that may not be viable in the future, this can also be a time to rethink, gain perspective, and look for new creative ways that you can move yourself and your purpose forward in a new environment. That was the case of my other colleagues, the founders of Airbnb. Airbnb was established in the last downturn, 2008, 2009, when two roommates in a beautiful, large, expensive apartment in San Francisco, both were out of work. Startups had failed, ran through their money. How do we pay the rent? Was literally their question. What do we do next month to avoid being homeless on the street? Because that can actually happen in California. Pretty easily, by the way. They looked around to each other. They brought in a few friends, had a couple of beers, and explored, what do we have that could be valuable that we could offer to somebody? And so we've got a lot of space here in this apartment. We don't need all of it. And we know that there are people that are coming to San Francisco, whether it's for conferences, whether it's to visit friends, whether it's on holiday. They're coming to San Francisco. Hotels are bloody expensive, and they're pretty crappy. So why don't we organize ourselves here where we can buy some blow-up mattresses and put a note out to some friends on the internet saying, if you come to San Francisco, forget spending $200 in that hotel. Spend $20. Sleep here in our lovely apartment. We'll even feed you. We'll take you out and show you the sights and make it a good experience. Might have sounded like a crazy idea to some of their friends. But what did they have to lose? They were going to be thrown out anyway. Might as well try this strategy. So they cobbled together the last bit of their savings, bought their air mattresses, stocked their refrigerator with good food for breakfast, and within a month were known as the place to go if you want to have a great time in San Francisco, and ultimately built what today is one of the most profitable, lucrative, and valued businesses in the hospitality industry. That was through creativity. It was through necessity. Some people say innovation comes from necessity and pain. And in many ways, I would say that can be a stronger driver for being innovative than going and taking a course at INSEAD and coming back and saying, now I'm going to be the innovation leader. Sometimes when we have to think differently, we're more willing to embrace change and do what it takes to move forward in a new direction. And this may be the perfect opportunity for many of us to relook at what are we doing? What do we have that is of value? How might we achieve our purpose here on this planet in a way different than we may have ever thought about back in January of 2020? So future readiness comes from talking to people. It comes from sharing. It comes from different perspectives. And the Executive Growth Alliance, EGA, is a global community of people that believe that. They want to be part of a different future. They're committed to exploring without a map. They're committed to doing things that may be a little bit risky at first. They're committed to sharing with others. And they're committed to working together with peers. And that could be either in a room physically in one location, when we're able to be in rooms with other people, or it could be via technology, where a leader of an oil company in Norway could get perspective from the oil company in Venezuela, from the research scientist in San Francisco, and a customer and a partner in the UK, all via technology, sharing perspectives, sharing ideas. Within the EGA, we select members to join the community, and then we curate people into defined peer groups based upon their challenges. Similar challenges, different perspectives, leads to future readiness, because you look at things differently, you encourage one another to explore, you have an opportunity to co-create that 1 + 1 = 3, and you gain confidence by working together with peers. In times of change, we need others around us. And the opportunities that we have to collaborate and to share are great. This is simply one approach that we believe can help in taking organizations and people, and ultimately our planet forward as we learn from each other. So if you're wondering, what can I actually do now to be future ready? First, gain perspective. What are you trying to achieve? What is your purpose? Where are you going? And it doesn't have to be the step-by-step guide, but when you think out in 5, 10 years, we don't know what the world will look like, but what do you want to have achieved? How do you want to look at yourself in that period of time? Once you have that perspective, then look at, how can I embrace the future? I know where I want to be identifying myself. How can I embrace what's happening, seek the opportunities, look at what I have that can be of value in helping me to get there? And how can I begin now in acting? And that could be learning something new. It could be challenging yourself to take an online course. It could be taking a different path when you do your daily walk. But challenge yourself to try doing something new. Because by acting and exploring, you begin to break down the barriers to change. You're allowing yourself to change versus being changed, because you're making the decision to go in a different path. And as you do so, collaborate with others. Gain other perspectives. Thinking partners, co-invention partners, people that can challenge you to help you to see the periphery of your path, which may be where that next opportunity actually lies. By doing that, having perspective, embracing, acting, collaborating, you begin to demonstrate then to others in your organization what future readiness really is. And that then allows for empowerment. People see that you're trying something new, you're giving them space to try something new, you're open to hearing about what works and what doesn't work, and hence they feel completely empowered to take things forward. And that was a key part of the Adobe story. When Shantanu was asked, so, Mr. Naran, how are you going to turn a 20-year-old software company into a services company in 5 years? His answer was very clear. I have no idea. Other than, I will lead and demonstrate and explore these 10 people that are my executive team, and I'm going to let them figure it out. They know where we're going. I will support them, but they're going to figure it out and push that down through the organization. That's true empowerment with that perspective, with the collaboration and the actions. So if you believe you're ready to go forward into the future, you start using peace as a way to move yourself beyond the chair, beyond the desk, beyond the sofa during these corona periods, and you're interested in participating in some of our EGA circles and discussion groups, we would love to chat with you. We're changing the world, one group, one discussion at a time, by bringing people together to share, collaborate, and learn. Because that is what the future is ultimately about. How can we as a global society grow and change together? We don't know the map, but we know that we can work together to create and change and build that new future and that new tomorrow. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to share successes, examples, and potentially invite you to participate with us. Thank you. What questions are we getting in there, Jan?
Very small questions. No, very few questions. Sorry, very few.
Short
Not
question.
small. Actually, so far none. So I have a few questions though.
Okay.
And first of all, thank you for excellent inspiration.
Thank you.
I know I have to get out of the couch, but I can still drink. That's the learning exercise from the Airbnb.
Yes.
Would they have the same idea if they didn't have the couple of beers, you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the beers add to the creativity, but eventually they would have come to the idea.
Yeah, because I also feel quite creative after a few beers, but maybe, I don't think I will follow that path anymore. Can you say something about the peer group that you put together? Mm-hmm. Is it on executive level in the companies, or is it also at board level?
It's both. It's both. In an ideal peer group, you would have a mix of levels. And in some of the groups today, we do have people that are board members. We have people that are C-level members in large public sector companies, as well as we have people that are mid-level managers. Because looking at things from those different views can really give a rich experience. I will say it depends on the topic, so we curate these around sometimes the topic needs that diverse view. Sometimes if it's how do we set KPIs for next year and financial incentives, we selectively choose and bring people together that are at more of a similar level.
Yeah. At board level, we are normally thinking about what is happening within the boardroom should stay in the boardroom. It's strategy and stuff like that. But I also embrace the thinking of sharing at the same time. And maybe we are too afraid of sharing also at the board level. I'm not sure about the experience you have of this, but companies that communicate between each other may be the winners, and you shouldn't maybe sit there and have all the information just inside the boardroom. But it's a difficult discussion, I think, that could be sharing too much also.
It is a difficult discussion, and one of the things that is a critical uniqueness of an EGA forum is we do hand select people to come in. It's not just I want to join in. We select and we qualify, and part of that qualification is discussions around confidentiality. Because any conversation that happens in an EGA forum or online circle, it is what is said in the room stays in the room. It is a under the radar, unofficial, safe, trusted environment in which the people that are in that group need to A, recognize it, and B, need to feel confident and comfortable being completely open and honest. And that's part of that selection process of which group a person is in. We would never put a leader of a company in the same group with the leader of his biggest customer, because there could be a conflict of interest. I mean, you could only share so much. So part of it is the selection, and part is recognizing it's a safe environment.
Sure. I see from your homepage that you have a number of the very high-profile Norwegian companies are there. Are they maybe they have accepted to have their name in your homepage? I assume so. But can you say something about smaller companies? Do you have also processes like this going on in startups? And for example, in the research park where I have been sitting.
Yes, we actually do. I mean, the way it's structured today, it's primarily the topics are more relevant for what I would call scale-ups than startups. So startups, I tend to think of as a 10-person or less company. I mean, there's a lot of resources that are available to help them figure out how to get funding, how to get customers, etc. Where we really start is more the 20 to 200-person company, where they need to be innovative, they need to learn how to work with the bigger companies, they need to address challenges of how to deal with market changes and customer changes. That's more the size that we would work with. So some of the ones that have been very, very positive for us and for their members, there's Easy Park. They're more of a global scale-up. There's also Built On was Kavas. They've learned a lot through this process.
And what about public sector?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. All organizations that are dealing with change, which includes public sector, all the way down to the small ones, are absolutely valid.
Have you done it in the public sector also in Norway, or
we have? We've had participation, very loyal participation, and great benefit from, for example, Avinor, which I know is kind of part public sector and part not, shall we say?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I would assume that it is an opportunity for all type of companies actually and organizations, and we all face change. So it's a way to work actually.
And that's really our biggest selection criteria is, does the organization as a culture and does the person recognize that change is going to happen? Are they willing to get out of the comfort zone, leave that strategy of hope it goes away, leave that behind? Are they willing to jump in? That's how we define forward-thinking, future-ready leaders that really want to embrace and learn from each other.
But you may have the board decision to go for it, because normally an administration would probably not do this until it had the board behind. Or do you think they will do it as part of a process, facilitating the board in their strategy development?
Yeah, I mean, this is generally something that a leader of a business unit or a leader of a division, or maybe it's the innovation officer, I mean, they usually would have the authority to make the decision that I personally am going to participate in the EGA and I'm going to learn and bring value back. I've never yet heard that it needs a board decision.
Okay, well, I was thinking that if you're going to share from your own organization and you know that sometime it could be difficult information that you are sharing, it would be good to have the board
Sure.
in your back.
Sure,
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Yeah,
Completely agree.
Anyway, yeah. I'll just make a final check if there are questions here. Nothing on
Hopefully
my...
somebody has a question out there.
I know there are some
Hopefully
very
they're not
smart people
asleep.
out there watching us, so I hope you're still alive. Nayad, I think you have been following this. Nayad is a former employee of me.
Okay.
Yes, so he is invited specially here, so he will probably have some questions if he wants to take the chance.
Yeah.
No, sorry, there are no questions so far. But I would like to thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
I think the future readiness, embracing change, communication, very important messages that you have been sharing with us, and the success stories.
Perfect.
So I think the inspiration we can get from this is the most important thing, and to go back to our organizations and see what we can do about it.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing the successes from that.
Yes, me too.
Yes.
I bought some flowers. You might, they might look as the coronavirus, but I think they are very special. So, and you are special. So the coronavirus has nothing to do with.
Yes.
The
Then I will anti-back them when I get them.
shake hands. No, we can do it this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And bye-bye.
Thank you.